right, IM2 classes. Today we are graphing quadratics in full standard form. So we have three terms. So full polynomial here, ax squared plus bx plus 3 plus c. This is the standard form. What's going to be the major difference about these is that these parabolas are not going to be centered on the y-axis like they have been the last two lessons. So the first lesson, the parabolas were centered at 0, 0 at the origin. The last lesson, they were all on the y-axis, so it made it very easy to pick the domain. These are not going to be centered. The vertex is not going to be on the y-axis, so it's going to take an extra step from us to figure out where that vertex is so we can be smart about picking our domain, our x values, to graph it. So what we're going to do first is find what's called the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry, where's my, I'm making a whole bunch of stuff here. But the axis of symmetry is this dotted line that's running up and down here. Has this formula, negative b divided by 2a. B and a come from the formula that we're working through. So like I said, these are in standard form. So we get b and a from the number that's in front of the x squared and then the number that's in front of the x. So that's where we're going to find this axis of symmetry. So that's going to be the center of our graph. We're going to use that for the middle, right? And then we find the y value, that'll be the vertex is on the axis of symmetry. And then we can use the points on either side then to graph it. Let's practice first finding the axis of symmetry and the vertex before we go about finding the graph. So we're going to do this formula here. I'm going to write it a little bit bigger. It's using function notation. I'm going to just change it to standard y instead of f of x. So y is equal to 2x squared plus 8x minus 1. So I'm going to use the axis of symmetry, which is negative b divided by 2a. So our values, so this is going to be our a value. So a, and then this is going to be our b value. And then this negative 1 at the end, we don't really need it, but this would be c. All right. So like I said, all we need is the a and b. So it's going to be negative. I'm going to put the negative up top of the b. It's just going to make it easier in my head, at least. Negative b divided by 2a, I'm going to replace those values. So it's going to be a is 2, so that's going to go on the bottom, and b is 8, so that's going to go here. And then we just evaluate that. So negative, so that's negative 8. 2 divided by 2 is 4. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. So here is our axis of symmetry, right here. Right now we want to find the vertex. To find the vertex, all we need to do is substitute that value back into the equation for the x. So we get y is equal to 2. What I'm going to do is change my x values from the original equation into parentheses. And then these, this is going to go in for here. And then I just need to evaluate those. So make sure you're watching for proper order of operation. So it's going to be 2, negative 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to take this in a few steps, right? 2 times 4 is 8. I can multiply here. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16 minus 1. So 8 minus 16 is negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. All right. So yeah, plus the negative 16 is going to be minus 16. and -9. Just be careful when you're adding and subtracting negatives. Remember, negatives move stuff to the left on a number line. So what this means, or y value is -9, so the vertex is at the point -2, -9. And that's it for that. In an effort to label this vertex. So in an effort to keep this video under, a half hour long, I'm going to skip ahead to where we're going to use this to actually graph. So we're going to actually graph this full thing. We're going to do it just like we did the last one, where we need a table of values and evaluate things. But what we're going to do is use the axis of symmetry first to choose our domain. So first thing I'm going to do here is find the axis of symmetry. I'm just going to call it AOS. All right. Again, the axis of symmetry is -b divided by 2a. So -b divided by 2a. So I'm going to replace the b and the a in there. So -b is -6. Be careful with that. I'm going to highlight that. Since b, this is the b value, is -6. Make sure you put in a -6 into this formula. And then a is 3. All right. So just keep going. On top, a -6 becomes a +6. So it's very important to keep track of those negatives. 2 times 3 is also +6. 6 over 6 is 1. You don't want to fix that. That is very annoying. All right. So x is 1. So this is going to be our center value. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip ahead. Instead of finding the y value, I'm going to do that as part of my table. Just because there's extra work to this. On the last ones, I had you do 5 points. I'm going to only have you do 3 points. With the axis of symmetry, that vertex in the middle. All right. So we need to pick 2 points around it. Let's be strategic about how we pick our points. All right. How we want to pick our points is we want ones that are going to be easy to calculate. All right. So small numbers, positive numbers, that sort of thing. We don't have to worry about negatives, or we don't have to worry about we don't have to worry about fractions. So, and you want to make sure they're the same distance. So on both sides of 1. So 1 is going to be the middle number. So I'm going to go 0 and 2. Just keep it simple. Just make sure 1, our axis of symmetry, is in the middle. And then just like last time, the other ones, I'm going to put this function in the middle. I'm going to rewrite it, replacing my x values with parentheses. And after I've done that with all of these, I'm going to go back and fill in the parentheses with the appropriate x value. Let me fix this. I don't know what's going on, why it keeps doing this. So up here, I'm going to fill them in. I'm going to show them in green. So the x values here are going to be 0. X values here with our axis of symmetry is 1. X values here are going to be 2. So now evaluate this. Just take care of the order of operations. You need to do exponents first. So this would be 0 squared is 0. So 3 times 0 minus 6 times 0 plus 5. 3 times 0 is 0. Minus 6 times 0 is 0. Plus 5. 0 minus 0 plus 5 is just 5. So the y value is 5. 1 squared is 1. So 3 times 1 minus 6 times 1 plus 5. 3 times 1 is 3. minus 6 times 1 is 6, plus 5. 3 minus 6 is negative 3, plus 5 is positive 2. 2 squared is 4. 3 times 4 minus 6 times 2 plus 5. 3 times 4 is 12. Minus 6 times 2 is 12. And plus 5. 12 minus 12 is 0. Plus 5 is 5. So here is a good way to determine if you pick good values. If you did the axis of symmetry correctly, you can look, these here match, right? And that's good. So we're going to have a nice quadratic centered at the vertex there. So I'm going to go ahead and plot the vertex first. So the vertex is at 1, 2. So that's right 1, up 2. The next point, so 0, 5. So 0, 5. And then 2, 5. So that'll be good there. Connect them with a nice dot. And you can see our quadratic is symmetrical on that line. So that's where the vertex is at and axis of symmetry. And I think that'll do it for us on this lesson. So just make sure, again, you want to find the axis of symmetry, negative b divided by 2a, and then use that as the center point, that x value, as the middle of the values in your table. And then you pick your other x values around that, and then make a table and plot the points that you generate from that. That will do it for us. Next time we are going to do graphing in a different form.